Thank you so much for agreeing to this interview with us, Laura and Alexander, and of course, little Harrison. Share with me your decision to visit Barbados in 2020.
It was a bit of a last-minute trip, but we looked all over the world, and we decided to come to Barbados because we've got family here. It's a beautiful place to come to, and we actually did look into everything to do with COVID, and it seemed like a really safe place to come to. So we flew from Manchester Airport and arrived in Barbados, and we were staying at the Sandpiper Hotel. We stayed in quarantine for 3 days, and then we had to take the COVID PCR test on New Year's Eve morning. My test came back negative, as did the rest of the hotel, and Alex's test came back inconclusive. So we had to stay in the hotel, still in isolation, still very much out of the way. And then we woke up on New Year's Day morning to find a note pushed under the door saying he has COVID. So that was the end of the holiday.
Tell me about your experience at Harrison Point.
What happened is when I got to my inclusive test, I then got a call saying that I was going to be taken to Harrison Point. The ambulance came, picked me up. It was very efficient. And I arrived, and I have to say, I got very, very good care, amazing care. Obviously, I went into intensive care on the Sunday. At that point, I was very ill, and I passed out. And all the doctors were unbelievable. I had the most amazing medical care there from there on.
So I stayed for 5 days in isolation in the hotel, at which point I started feeling ill, and I thought that I probably had it. Got the test after 5 days and found out that I did have COVID. And then I went downhill quite quickly, and I got rushed into intensive care as well. So I met with Al in intensive care, and you were really, really unwell, and we didn't realise quite how poorly he was, and I don't think Alex realised how poorly he was either. Afterwards, he kept telling me that he passed out, but it was only for a few seconds, and I thought, I'm not sure about that. And then when we spoke to Dr. Ford afterwards, he said, no, it was about 15 minutes.
No, it's about 20, it was about 20 minutes.
Something like that. It was only afterwards when we were told that he was minutes away from being ventilated, and his oxygen levels went down to 65%, and at 60, I think it's organ shutdown, or it was only 5%. I can't remember the exact stats, but it's only 5% off organ shutdown. That was really, really shocking.
Share with me your decision to name your first child after Harrison Point.
But we were struggling with names. We came up with 2 lists of names, and we did come together, and we had about 3 different names that we'd agreed on, but we still weren't sure. And then when we were over here with some of Alex's family, and somebody suggested the name Harrison, and we were literally just round the corner, and we both looked at each other and went, that's perfect, because Harrison wouldn't have a daddy if it wasn't for what the doctors had done at Harrison Point. In England, you only get sent to hospital if you're really sick. So if you're not sick, you stay at home. And because Alex got sent to hospital when he was not sick, particularly, and because he went downhill really quickly, the doctors were there to look after him. And we don't know if he'd be alive if he hadn't been there on site whilst all this happened. And when we came out, we met so many people that had been in the tertiary section where they had no symptoms, and they were frustrated that they had to be there. And people said, "Oh, Harrison's Point this, Harrison's Point that," and it wasn't. We knew it wasn't a hotel; it was a hospital. So, in terms of the living conditions, it wasn't. It wasn't a hotel, but the medical care was amazing, and all we could tell people was that it saved his life. So that's why when we came back, we wanted to go to Harrison's Point and meet all the doctors and just say thank you, because we know that it's really, really tough, because there's been lots of people that haven't made it, and the doctors have got to go home every night and live with that and deal with that, and it's hard. And so for a little bit of good news and a thank you, I think it goes a long way.
I think again that all comes down to Corey Ford and his team,
Yeah.
The family of 3 were gifted a 6-night stay in Barbados on their next visit from the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. Krystal Hoyte, CBC News.